Ethan Carter, a 17-year-old boy with small hands and a passionate heart, accomplished what seemed impossible, fixing a broken Tesla on the roadside. But what truly changed his life wasn't just his talent, it was kindness. His kindness in helping without expecting anything in return, and the kindness of those who gave him opportunities to reach new heights. From one small act, Ethan embarked on an extraordinary journey where every step became a testament to the power of compassion and generosity. Can kindness truly change a life, or even the world? Join us to find out the answers. Ethan Carter, a 17-year-old boy, lived in a run-down neighborhood where narrow alleys and dilapidated houses bore the marks of time. Yet his circumstances never defined his limits. With eyes brimming with curiosity and hands that never ceased working, always found ways to transform the mundane into something magical. In the small room he shared with his mother, Grace Carter, and sister, Amelia Carter, Ethan had created a different world, a small corner displaying model spacecraft and electric cars crafted from recycled materials, a space he proudly called his space station. Plastic bottles, old wires, or rusted metal scraps, what others deemed trash became precious resources in Ethan's hands. Quietly tinkering away, his small but deft fingers meticulously combined ether every detail. No one knew where his ideas came from, but Ethan seemed to view the world through a unique lens. Each night, under the dim glow of a yellow lamp, he immersed himself in books on technology borrowed from the public library, applying what he learned to his creations. Despite the hardships his family faced, Ethan never felt constrained by poverty. To him, what mattered most wasn't what he had, but the grand dreams he pursued. He often told himself, "One day I'll help humans live on other planets." His mother, though burdened with multiple jobs to support her 2 children, always smiled encouragingly when she saw Ethan engrossed in his inventions. His sister Amelia, who had given up her dream of studying engineering to help their mother, quietly collected old parts to support Ethan's passion. In that impoverished neighborhood, Ethan Carter was far from an ordinary boy. He was someone who carried a monumental dream, a relentless desire to break through all boundaries, starting with the simplest and humblest of beginnings. Daniel Morgan stood on the side of a deserted road where remnants of rain lingered on the asphalt, shimmering under the late morning light. The air still carried traces of moisture and the earthy scent left by the passing storm. Water streaks on his sleek car gleamed like silent witnesses to an unexpected breakdown. For the 4th time in 10 minutes, he glanced at his watch, his heart weighed down with worry. As a production director at Tesla, Daniel was accustomed to managing situations, always orchestrating solutions with seamless precision. But now he felt powerless. His car, a symbol of cutting-edge technology that he had helped bring to life, had broken down without any warning. After several attempts, from restarting the system to disassembling a few parts, Daniel realized he lacked both the tools and skills to fix the issue. He had called for roadside assistance, only to be told it would take at least half an hour for help to arrive. With a sigh, Daniel's gaze swept across the scenery. On either side of the road, rain-soaked fields sparkled, painting a serene yet ironic contrast to his growing tension. A crucial meeting at Tesla, where he was to present an important project, awaited him. For Daniel, punctuality was more than a principle. It was intrinsic to his professional identity. He had never been late, yet today, circumstances were beyond his control. Clutching his phone, Daniel checked once more for updates from the rescue team. The screen remained blank. He set the phone down and stared into the distance, where the road stretched endlessly, a muted gray merging with sunlight breaking through post-storm clouds. His shirt collar was undone, his tie loosened. Rubbing his hands over his face, he tried to shake off the gnawing frustration that was mounting with every passing moment. "This is unbelievable," he muttered, his voice tinged with both irritation and self-reproach. Puddles on the road mirrored the clear blue sky above, a stark and almost mocking contrast to his turbulent mood. Daniel, the man who routinely resolved the most complex challenges in production lines, was now held up by something as trivial as a mechanical failure. A light breeze carried the scent of wet leaves, stirring the stillness around him. Daniel crouched down to inspect the tire once more, as if hoping the problem had miraculously resolved itself. But everything remained unchanged. His polished shoes pressed into a puddle, the chill and dampness emphasizing his sense of helplessness. He reminded himself to stay calm, yet his restless feet betrayed his unease. He paced back and forth, as though movement could somehow lessen the weight pressing on his mind. Daniel began rehearsing excuses for his tardiness, but even the most valid reasons couldn't ease the sting of his own disappointment. Under the bright, rain-washed sky, Daniel Morgan, a man who took pride in solving any issue, found himself gripped by an unusual and profound feeling of helplessness, a rare but striking reminder of how easily life could veer beyond his grasp. The rain had just subsided, leaving the air cool and fresh, with streaks of water glistening on the empty road. Daniel Morgan stood next to his sleek car, now an immobile ornament, sighing as he checked his watch again. Time marched forward, and with it, his growing anxiety. Holding his phone tightly, he stared down the road, awaiting the arrival of roadside assistance, a faint glimmer of hope. Suddenly, from afar, a boy appeared, a worn backpack slung over his shoulder, his small frame contrasting with the determined sparkle in his eyes. "Do you need help, sir?" A clear, youthful voice broke through Daniel's swirling thoughts. Daniel looked up, startled, as the boy stopped beside his car, gazing at him with genuine concern. "Thank you, but I've already called for help. They should be here soon," Daniel replied, half wanting to dismiss the boy and half intrigued by the quiet confidence radiating from him. But Ethan, unlike most boys his age, studied the car with a mix of curiosity and certainty. "I think I might be able to help," he said, setting down his backpack. Before Daniel could protest, Ethan had already crouched down to examine the tires, then moved quickly to the open control panel inside the car. "Have you tried restarting it? If that didn't work, the issue might be with the power regulation system. Did you notice a sudden drain in the battery before the car stopped?" Daniel froze. The boy's words and methodical approach resembled that of a seasoned technician rather than a simple child. "How do you know that?" Daniel asked, a blend of doubt and fascination in his tone. Ethan smiled. "I like fixing things. I've read a lot about electric cars, especially Teslas. I've even built a small car for myself using old parts." As he spoke, his hands deftly moved across the car's components, examining every detail. It didn't take Ethan long to identify the issue, a minor fault in the voltage regulation system. He pulled a small toolkit from his backpack, containing basic tools, screwdrivers, tape, and a handful of recycled components. Daniel watched in astonishment as the boy quickly dismantled, inspected, and temporarily fixed the issue by replacing a faulty wire with a spare from his collection. "Try starting it now," Ethan said, standing up, his hands still slightly grimy from the work. Daniel obeyed, and the engine purred to life, as smooth as if there had never been a problem. He stared at the boy in disbelief, amazed that within less than 15 minutes, Ethan had resolved what had left him utterly helpless. "You're incredible," Daniel exclaimed, his eyes filled with admiration. Ethan shrugged modestly, his expression calm. "It was just a small issue, sir. I think my mom will be happy to know I helped someone today." Ethan's words left Daniel speechless. He reached into his wallet, pulling out some cash and offering it to the boy. "Thank you so much. Here's a little something as a token of my appreciation." Ethan shook his head, smiling gently. "I didn't do this for money. My mom always says it's important to help others, especially when they're in need." The response struck Daniel deeply. He wasn't just impressed by the boy's mechanical skills, but also moved by his humility and kindness. In a world where people often prioritize personal gain, Ethan was a refreshing reminder of selflessness, easing Daniel's earlier frustration. As Ethan slung his backpack over his shoulder and prepared to leave, Daniel called out, "What's your name?" "Ethan Carter," the boy replied, his smile unwavering. Watching the boy disappear down the damp road, Daniel felt more than just gratitude for the repaired car. Ethan had left a lasting impression, a reminder of how even the simplest acts of kindness could transform a day. Daniel strode quickly through the gleaming corridors of Tesla headquarters, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the stillness. He knew he was late. Embarrassment and guilt weighed heavily on him, with each step feeling heavier than the last. Being late, especially for an important meeting like this, was uncharacteristic of him. Daniel was always the first to arrive, meticulously prepared. But today, an unexpected mishap had shaken him out of his usual rhythm. The door to the conference room swung open, and every gaze turned toward him. At the head of the table, Elon Musk sat upright, his expression unmistakably displeased. "You finally made it," Musk said, his voice low and sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. "Daniel, I don't recall hiring you to arrive late and disrupt our progress." Daniel swallowed hard, forcing himself to suppress his unease. "I sincerely apologize, Elon," he began, his tone full of regret. "My car broke down on the way. I tried to fix it, but—" "Your car?" Musk interjected, raising an eyebrow skeptically. "Your car had a problem? How fascinating. I hope you're not planning to use that as an excuse." The pressure bearing down on Daniel was palpable. He took a deep breath, determined to explain calmly. "It's true, my car had an issue. But what's remarkable here isn't the breakdown. It's who helped me. A boy, about 17 years old. I must say his skills in repair work were nothing short of extraordinary." Musk tilted his head slightly, his expression softening but now tinged with curiosity. "A boy?" he asked, his tone losing a bit of its earlier edge. "Yes," Daniel continued. "He happened to be passing by and offered to help. At first I was skeptical, but I decided to let him try. In less than 15 minutes, he identified the issue and fixed it using the simplest of tools. I've never seen anyone handle a situation with such speed and creativity, especially someone his age." A brief silence fell over the room. Musk crossed his arms, his gaze drifting as if deep in thought. "This boy, he sounds intriguing." Daniel, slightly surprised by Musk's sudden interest, added, "He also mentioned that fixing cars is just a passion of his. When I offered to pay him, he refused and told me that his mother taught him to help others when they're in need." Musk's lips curled faintly, almost forming a smile that didn't fully materialize. "A child like that, where could he have come from?" Musk mused aloud. Then turning back to Daniel, his eyes now sharp with a mix of curiosity and determination, he said, "Find a way to contact that boy. Who knows? He might just be the next talent we need." Daniel nodded, a wave of relief replacing his initial embarrassment. Not only had Musk's frustration eased, but the story of the remarkable young boy had sparked exactly the kind of attention it deserved. Elon Musk leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon beyond the window. But his mind was fully immersed in the story Daniel had just shared. A 17-year-old boy. The question echoed in his thoughts, reverberating like a sound in an empty chamber. How could someone that young identify a system fault without specialized equipment and fix it with just a few rudimentary tools? It was impossible for Musk to dismiss this story. He had encountered many talents, true prodigies, but the tale of an unknown boy with exceptional skills intrigued him deeply. If what Daniel said is true, then Ethan Carter isn't just an ordinary kid. But what enabled him to do this? Was it self-learning, passion, circumstance, or some combination of all three? What struck Musk even more than the boy's ability to repair the car was his refusal to accept payment, instead crediting his actions to a lesson his mother had taught him, to help others in need. This elevated the story far beyond the usual narratives Musk had heard. Kindness and talent, such a rare combination, he thought, his eyes shining with a newfound curiosity. Musk couldn't let this go. A 17-year-old boy flawlessly repaired a car. If I don't meet him in person, what else could reignite the pursuit of even greater dreams? Rising decisively, as was his habit, he called out in a firm, resonant voice, "Daniel." Daniel turned immediately, sensing the weight of Musk's tone. "Find a way to bring me to this boy. I need to know who he really is," Musk declared, his words carrying the conviction of someone accustomed to chasing the extraordinary. Musk and Daniel stepped out of the car, their eyes scanning the unassuming scene before them. A modest wooden house stood quietly amidst a yard filled with used objects, a broken fan, a few plastic scraps, and coils of old wiring. Everything was arranged neatly, as if patiently awaiting a second chance. In one corner of the yard, Ethan Carter, 17 years old, was hunched over, engrossed in his work. Ethan's hands moved deftly as he assembled pieces of a small, autonomous vehicle model crafted from recycled materials. The frame was built from plastic bottles, the wheels were repurposed bottle caps, and the motor came from a broken fan. Despite his small and unassuming appearance, there was a remarkable confidence in his gaze. "Hello, Mr. Daniel," Ethan said, looking up and flashing a friendly smile when he recognized a familiar face. His eyes shifted to the unfamiliar man standing beside Daniel. Musk gave a polite nod, his own gaze quietly observant but probing. "What are you working on?" Daniel asked, pointing at the model in front of Ethan. "I'm trying to install a new navigation system for the autonomous car," Ethan explained, his voice tinged with excitement. "I think if I adjust the wheel angle slightly, it'll save energy when turning." Daniel smiled, pulling out his wallet and retrieving a $20 bill. "You've helped me so much. Please take this as a small token of appreciation." Ethan shook his head, his expression earnest. "I can't accept it, sir. My mom always says helping others in need is the right thing to do." Daniel hesitated, taken aback. Glancing around, his eyes fell on an old bicycle leaning in one corner of the yard. Inspiration struck him. "Then how about this? I'll get you a new bike. It'll make getting to school a lot easier." Ethan looked at Daniel, his smile widening slightly, but his resolve didn't waver. "Thank you, sir, but I really can't accept that either. Doing good is my joy, and fixing things is my passion." Musk, who had been silently observing, now stepped closer, his eyes narrowing as they focused on Ethan's work. "A boy who refuses both money and a bicycle, all because of passion and kindness. That's rare," he remarked, his voice thoughtful. "Do you have any bigger dreams, Ethan?" Ethan looked up, his eyes suddenly bright and alive. "I want to work on space projects, to help people live and work on other planets." Musk nodded slightly, a faint smile crossing his face. "That's right, Ethan. Space exploration is the future, and with your talent and attitude, that future might just need someone like you." Amelia Carter stepped out from the wooden door of her house, her bright eyes and slightly flustered face reflecting a mix of surprise and curiosity as she saw two well-dressed men standing in the yard. With a hint of nervousness but unmistakable politeness, she quickly smiled and greeted them, her voice clear and confident. "Hello, gentlemen. I'm Amelia, Ethan's sister. It's a pleasure to meet you both." Musk and Daniel nodded, both impressed by the young woman's composure. Her slender figure, slightly trembling hands as she subconsciously adjusted the folds of her dress, and her eyes that radiated confidence and hospitality left an impression on them. "Hello, Amelia," Daniel responded first, his tone gentler than usual. "We were just talking to Ethan. He truly amazed us." Musk kept his gaze on Amelia, offering a faint smile. "Thank you for welcoming us, Amelia. It seems Ethan is not only a gifted young man, but also deeply supported by his family." Amelia tilted her head slightly, the smile on her lips gentle yet unmistakably filled with pride. "Ethan is a very special boy. He always finds ways to improve things, even with materials others would discard. But honestly, it's Ethan who inspires our family, not the other way around." Musk furrowed his brow slightly, the curiosity in his eyes deepening. "It seems you understand and are very proud of your brother. What about you, Amelia? Do you have a particular passion of your own?" The question made Amelia pause. She bit her lip lightly, her gaze flickering toward Ethan, who was watching her intently as if offering silent encouragement. "Well, I once received a scholarship in engineering. I always wanted to become an engineer, to work with machines and technology." She stopped, her smile fading slightly. "But after my father passed away, my mother needed help. I knew I couldn't chase my dream and leave my family to face hardships alone. So I gave up the scholarship and started working." Daniel gave Amelia a look filled with empathy, but it was Musk who broke the silence with a calm and measured tone. "Giving up such a significant opportunity must not have been easy, but I sense great strength in your decision." Amelia nodded softly, her eyes returning to their usual calm steadiness. "Perhaps, Mr. Musk, but the important thing is that I don't regret it. I did what needed to be done, and now I just hope Ethan can pursue the dream he truly deserves." Musk remained silent for a few moments, his gaze thoughtful. The conversation with Amelia not only gave him deeper insight into the family, but also stirred within him a sense of admiration for the quiet sacrifices of the young woman. Elon Musk looked directly at the siblings, his eyes radiating certainty and the characteristic sharpness of a man accustomed to making monumental decisions. Standing upright, arms crossed over his chest, he seemed to have already formed a clear plan in his mind. "Amelia, Ethan," he began, his voice unwavering, "I see something truly special in both of you. One of you possesses remarkable talent, and the other, incredible determination. These are two essential qualities for success, especially in the fields I am building." Amelia flinched slightly, her eyes widening as if unable to believe the conversation had shifted toward her. Behind him, Ethan stared at Musk, a mix of astonishment and hope written across his face. Musk continued, his tone firm yet sincere. "Amelia, I would like to invite you to join an apprenticeship program at Tesla. This is an opportunity for you to apply your technical knowledge and continue pursuing your dreams." Amelia's eyes grew even wider, and she couldn't hold back a startled exclamation. Really, sir?" Musk smiled faintly but quickly shifted his attention to Ethan. "And you, Ethan," he said, "I want to offer you an internship at SpaceX. I believe that with your passion and talent, you'll learn a great deal and potentially contribute to the projects we're working on." Ethan stood motionless, his mouth slightly open as though trying to speak but unable to find the words. Then Musk raised a finger, his voice lowering slightly for emphasis. "However, I don't give out opportunities lightly. Both of you will need to pass a series of tests to prove your worth. These will be practical challenges designed not only to evaluate your skills, but also your determination and ability to perform under pressure." A brief silence filled the space. Amelia and Ethan exchanged a glance, feeling the weight of the challenge, but also an undeniable sense of determination. We're ready," Amelia said, her voice trembling, slightly yet resolute. Ethan nodded, his eyes shining with gratitude and unwavering resolve. Musk looked at the two siblings, a trace of satisfaction flickering across his face. "Good," he said decisively. "Then let's see if you can prove me right." Amelia stepped into Tesla's laboratory, her heart racing with excitement and anticipation. This was the place she had always dreamed of, a haven of cutting-edge equipment and modern technological models awaiting exploration. Her supervisor guided her through a series of devices, explaining their functions and introducing her to the challenge ahead, designing an efficient, renewable energy model within a limited time frame. At first, everything went smoothly. Amelia quickly sketched her ideas on the drawing board, her hands gliding over the tools with the confidence she once felt during her engineering dreams. However, as she moved into the assembly and testing phases, challenges began to arise. Some components didn't function as expected, initial calculations didn't align, and each adjustment seemed to create new issues. The ticking clock on the wall reminded her relentlessly that time was slipping away. Anxiety began to creep into her mind. Her hands trembled as she tried to reassemble a faulty component, and her gaze lingered on the board filled with scattered notes and calculations. "This can't be happening," Amelia whispered to herself, her voice strained. Her heart grew heavy. This was the opportunity Musk had given her, a chance not everyone was fortunate enough to receive. She had already sacrificed her dream once, and now she feared losing it again. But then she recalled the determined sparkle in Ethan's eyes when he spoke about his dreams. Despite facing far greater challenges, her younger brother had never given up. "I can't give up," Amelia thought, taking a deep breath to steady herself. She chose to push past her fear and start anew. Amelia called for her supervisor, unafraid to ask questions about the areas she didn't fully understand. With their support and a few timely suggestions, she identified an error in her calculations regarding energy storage efficiency. She immediately adjusted her design, restructured the model, and tested each component again. Her confidence gradually returned as every tweak brought her closer to a working system. Her hands, now steadier, swiftly assembled the final pieces of the model. When the final test began, Amelia held her breath. Electricity coursed through the system, and a small light flickered on, signaling success. Amelia stood still, gazing at her completed model, her eyes glowing with joy. Beads of sweat dotted her forehead, but a radiant smile lit her face. She had not only overcome the challenge, but also surpassed her own doubts. The incredible opportunity Musk had given her had not been wasted, and Amelia knew this was just the beginning. Ethan Carter stepped into the training facility at SpaceX, where everything exuded modernity and cutting-edge innovation. Light from massive screens reflected off engine models and navigation systems, bringing the space to life. This was the place he had always dreamed of, the heart of groundbreaking space exploration projects. Ethan's heart pounded, not just from the grandeur of his surroundings, but also from knowing he was about to face an immense challenge. The first day of the internship began with fundamental lessons. Ethan quickly adapted, absorbing every bit of knowledge with enthusiasm. His passion for technology and space exploration fueled his determination. However, when assigned his first practical task, testing and calibrating a sensor system in an autonomous vehicle model, Ethan realized the stark difference between theory and practice. He spent hours analyzing the system, but the complex data left him feeling overwhelmed. In his haste to test the connections, he accidentally reversed 2 ports, causing the system to shut down. As the error light glowed red on the screen, a lump formed in Ethan's throat. "Need some help?" A calm yet firm voice spoke from behind him. Ethan turned to see Sofia Rivera, the engineer supervising the interns. With sharp eyes and a professional demeanor, she approached him. "You've swapped 2 connections," she noted after a quick glance at the system. Her tone carried no judgment, only a calm reassurance that eased Ethan's tension. "Mistakes are normal, especially when you're learning. What matters is how you fix them." Sophia sat down beside Ethan, patiently explaining the principles behind the sensor system. She showed him how to read data accurately and identify common errors. Each word she spoke not only conveyed technical knowledge, but also instilled confidence in Ethan, assuring him he could overcome this challenge. With Sophia's meticulous guidance, Ethan began to understand the system better. He carefully untangled the incorrect connections, checked each component, and finally restarted the system. When the error light disappeared and a steady green light blinked in its place, Ethan felt as though the entire world had just brightened. Sophia smiled with approval. "Well done, Ethan. Remember, every mistake is a lesson. As long as you don't give up, you'll go far." Her words stayed with Ethan. He didn't just learn to repair a system. He came to understand that mistakes were not failures, but essential steps in the learning process. From that moment on, Ethan's confidence grew. He tackled projects with a spirit of curiosity and relentless effort. Whenever challenges arose, he recalled Sophia's guidance and encouragement, pushing himself to rise above them and improve. His passion for conquering space burned brighter than ever, fueled by the knowledge, experience, and even the errors that had shaped his journey. Amelia stepped into Tesla's conference room, where sunlight poured through large glass windows, illuminating the technical blueprints and prototype models displayed around the room. The project at hand was a significant one for the engineering team, designing an advanced renewable energy storage system. Despite her thorough preparation, the atmosphere in the room felt heavy, amplified by the sharp gaze of Victor, a seasoned and notoriously critical engineer she had to work alongside. Victor rose to his feet, his dry tone cutting through the room. "We don't have time for mistakes, especially from someone without practical experience like you," he said, his eyes sweeping over Amelia with thinly veiled doubt. Amelia felt momentarily shaken by his blunt criticism, but held her ground. "I understand," she replied, her voice steadier than she expected. "I'm here to learn and contribute, not to waste anyone's time." The days that followed were far from easy. Victor seemed to intentionally assign Amelia the most challenging tasks, from analyzing hundreds of data points to calculating contingency scenarios for the system. He was quick to point out even the smallest errors, often laced with sarcasm about her inexperience. However, instead of retreating, Amelia's resolve grew stronger. On many late nights long after her colleagues had left, she stayed behind, meticulously analyzing and researching technologies she wasn't yet familiar with. Each time she encountered a hurdle, she thought of Elon Musk's trusting eyes when he invited her to the apprenticeship program. "He believed in me. I can't let him down," she reminded herself, her determination rekindled. Her defining moment came when the team was tasked with presenting proposals to improve the energy storage system. As usual, Victor dominated the discussion, taking up much of the room's attention. But when he presented an approach that Amelia recognized as flawed, she stepped forward, boldly sharing her idea. "I propose optimizing the system by altering the structure of the storage plates," she said, pointing to her model. "This adjustment would not only enhance efficiency, but also significantly reduce production costs." The room fell silent for a moment. Victor, initially frowning, turned to examine Amelia's blueprint, seemingly scrutinizing its validity. He said nothing, but his silence itself was unusual. Finally, one of the senior managers spoke up. "This is an idea worth exploring further." "Well done, Amelia." The project moved forward with her proposal, and Amelia didn't just prove her competence. She also earned Victor's reluctant acknowledgement. "Not bad," he said curtly after the meeting, his tone softer than it had ever been. Amelia smiled, knowing she had overcome a major hurdle. This was not just a personal victory, but also a clear affirmation that she was worthy of the trust Musk had placed in her. The SpaceX intern lab was a hub of cutting-edge technology, brimming with innovation but also steeped in pressure. Ethan, the youngest among the interns, sat quietly observing his older peers engage in animated discussions. Today's assignment was to design and assemble a simple mechanical system, a robotic arm capable of picking up and moving cubes. It was part of the internship program's objective to help participants grasp the basic principles of automation. Each group was provided with fundamental components: small motors, joints, basic sensors, and a selection of recycled materials. Ethan quickly immersed himself in the challenge, his small hands carefully arranging the parts according to the design layout his group had drafted. However, as they began assembly, Ethan noticed a problem. The sensor they were using was incompatible with the main motor, causing the robotic arm's movements to malfunction. "This isn't going to work," he pointed out. But Leo, an older teammate, dismissed him outright. "Just follow the plan. It's the simplest approach." Ethan hesitated. He didn't want to disrupt the group's dynamic, but the issue was glaring. After a moment of contemplation, he decided to test an alternative solution on his own at a corner of the table, ensuring he wouldn't interrupt the group's workflow. Drawing on what he had learned and his experience building homemade models, Ethan reassembled the sensor system using an additional force adjustment piece made from an extra joint. When he tested the modified system, the robotic arm operated smoothly, picking up and moving the cube as intended. Meanwhile, Leo and the rest of the group were still struggling with errors. Ethan gently brought his completed model over. "I think this method might work better," he said, his tone free of any arrogance. The group examined Ethan's results, their initial surprise shifting into agreement. Leo picked up the model, inspected it closely, and eventually nodded. "Not bad," he admitted, though his tone carried a trace of reluctance. After the evaluation session, the supervising engineer, Sofia Rivera, smiled at Ethan. "Your approach to solving this problem shows creativity and precision. These are essential skills, even for seasoned engineers." Ethan didn't just learn how to handle a technical task that day. He also realized that confidence in his abilities and ideas was key to tackling greater challenges. Walking out of the research lab with a light smile, Ethan reminded himself that every day at SpaceX was another step closer to fulfilling his dream of exploring the stars. In the small room, the soft glow of a yellow lamp illuminated family photos hanging on the walls and a simple wooden table in the corner. Amelia and Ethan sat across from each other on wooden chairs, each absorbed in their own tasks. Amelia was intently reading through a technical document from Tesla, while Ethan worked on a small model in his hands, a self-driving car crafted from recycled parts. "I think I might get the chance to join Tesla's renewable energy project," Amelia began, her voice tinged with worry. "But Victor still doesn't trust me. He scrutinizes everything I do, as if he's just waiting for me to make a mistake." Ethan looked up, his eyes shining with conviction. "But you've already overcome challenges before, haven't you? You're great, Amelia. You just need to keep trying." Amelia smiled softly, setting the documents down on the table. "Thanks, Ethan, but sometimes I still feel so much pressure. Working with such talented people makes me afraid I'm not good enough." Ethan tilted his head, his eyes thoughtful. "You know something? When I first started at SpaceX, I felt the same way. Everyone was older and knew more than me. I made mistakes and got called out for them, but Sophia told me that mistakes don't matter as much as being willing to learn from them. Amelia looked at her younger brother, a proud smile spreading across her face. Sophia Rivera, the one you always talk about, she really does sound like an amazing mentor. Ethan nodded emphatically. She is, and you can do it too, Amelia. You're smart and hardworking. You've sacrificed so much for our family. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. Amelia stayed silent for a few moments, then reached out to place a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Thank you, Ethan. I'm so proud of you. What you're doing at SpaceX isn't just for your dreams. It inspires me a lot too. Just then, the door creaked open. Grace Carter, their mother, stepped in holding a handkerchief. She paused, her gentle gaze resting on her two children. The sight of them talking and encouraging each other with such heartfelt words filled her heart with warmth. You two make me so proud, she said, her voice soft but brimming with emotion. No matter what happens, I know you'll always support and help each other. That's what matters most. Amelia and Ethan looked up, both smiling at her. In that moment, the small room seemed to glow, warmed not just by the light of the lamp, but by the love of their family and the unwavering determination of two siblings striving to rise above their challenges. Ethan sat before the drafting board, his eyes fixed intently as he put the finishing touches on his design. This was the theoretical portion of the SpaceX Internship Challenge, requiring participants to propose an improvement to a model rocket. With unwavering focus, Ethan crafted a design he believed could enhance the rocket's stability during launch. He slid the blueprint toward his mentor, Sophia Rivera, the anticipation clear in his expression. I think if we slightly adjust the structure at the tail, the rocket will move more smoothly, he explained, his voice carrying a mix of confidence and excitement. Sophia picked up the blueprint, carefully examining each detail. After a moment, she nodded but pointed to a specific part of the design. This idea is very creative, she remarked, but have you considered that even a small change here might affect the rocket's movement? Ethan paused, his eyes widening. You mean it could destabilize the rocket? Sophia smiled, her tone gentle, yet firm. Exactly. Sometimes an idea that looks perfect in theory doesn't work well in practice. What's important is to always test and be ready to make adjustments. Ethan bent his head over the blueprint, fully focused on revising it. He carefully modified the details Sophia had pointed out, and within minutes, he had completed an updated version. He slid it back to her, this time with a hint of nervous optimism. Sophia reviewed it again, her face breaking into a satisfied smile. Much better, Ethan. This is how you become a great engineer, by listening, learning, and being unafraid to adapt. Ethan's design was highly praised by the review panel, not just for its creativity, but also for his ability to refine it so effectively. As he left the lab, a deep sense of pride filled him. He realized that today he had learned a valuable lesson. Success comes not only from talent, but also from the willingness to listen and improve every step of the way. Amelia sat at her small desk, holding a letter from Tesla with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. The letter's contents were clear. She had performed exceptionally well during her internship, and Tesla was offering her a permanent position at their headquarters in San Francisco. This opportunity could open the door to a bright future, a significant career leap that not everyone was fortunate enough to receive. However, her joy quickly gave way to heavier thoughts. Working in San Francisco meant leaving her family behind, her mother, Grace, and her younger brother, Ethan, the very people who had motivated her to strive so hard over the years. She glanced out the window where Ethan was testing one of his homemade models. The sparkle in his eyes reminded her of why she had chosen this path in the first place, to create a better future for her family. That evening, Amelia sat at the dinner table with her mother and Ethan. I have something to tell you, she began, her voice subdued. Tesla has offered me a permanent position, but the job is in San Francisco. For a moment, the room fell silent. Grace placed a reassuring hand on the table, her gaze full of encouragement. You've worked so hard to earn this opportunity. I've always wanted you to follow your dreams. Ethan, who had been quiet until then, looked up, his eyes filled with emotion. If you go, I'll miss you a lot, he said softly. Ethan's words pierced Amelia's heart. That night, long after everyone else had gone to bed, She sat alone at her desk, weighing her options. Accepting the position would advance her career significantly, but it also meant being away from her family, especially Ethan, who still needed her support and encouragement. After a long night of reflection, Amelia made her decision. The next morning, she sent an email to Tesla, expressing her gratitude for the incredible opportunity, but proposing a compromise: working remotely. "I believe I can contribute effectively even without being physically present at headquarters," she wrote, her hands trembling slightly, but her resolve firm. When Tesla accepted her proposal, Amelia felt a wave of relief. She knew she had made the right choice: to continue building her career without sacrificing her connection to her family. Watching her mother smile and Ethan happily tinkering with his small projects, Amelia reaffirmed her belief that success wasn't solely defined by professional achievements, but by holding on to the values that mattered most in life. Elon Musk stood before the large auditorium where employees from Tesla and SpaceX had gathered to listen. His gaze swept across the crowd, but his mind was replaying recent moments: his first meeting with Ethan and the boy's intense passion, Amelia's perseverance in overcoming challenges, and the quiet sacrifices of Grace Carter. These experiences had illuminated a truth Musk had only vaguely considered before. We often think that talent only emerges in the best conditions or through the most structured training, Musk began, his voice low yet powerful. But Ethan and Amelia have taught me that talent is not confined by circumstances. It can be found anywhere, in the smallest homes, amidst the greatest hardships. What we need to do is seek it out and create opportunities for it to flourish. The room fell silent, every pair of eyes fixed on Musk, sensing the sincerity in his words. He continued, "That's why I've decided to establish a development fund to support young talents from challenging backgrounds. This fund won't just provide financial assistance, it will offer access to education, training, and connections with experts in some of the most critical fields." He paused, allowing the weight of his announcement to sink in. "I'm not doing this out of idealism. I'm doing it because I believe that individuals like Ethan and Amelia can not only transform their own lives, but also change the world. They are proof that determination and talent don't need special conditions to grow. They just need the right opportunity at the right time." Applause erupted, filling the room. Musk smiled, but his eyes remained resolute. For him, this was not merely a personal lesson, but a declaration of his commitment to shaping a better future. A future where every talent, no matter where it resides, could have the chance to reach for the stars. Ethan Carter, now a standout intern at SpaceX, stepped into the large conference room where engineers were preparing to launch a new generation spacecraft project. His eyes gleamed with pride as he reflected on his journey, from a 17-year-old boy fixing a car by the roadside to being part of an international-scale project. Ethan never forgot that without the dedicated support of engineer Sofia Rivera and the opportunity given by Elon Musk, he wouldn't be where he was today. "Kindness can change a life," Ethan once said to Sofia during a conversation. It was a lesson he had drawn from his own journey, and each day at SpaceX, he worked to inspire other interns, just as Sofia had inspired him. At Tesla, Amelia Carter was leading a team of engineers during a presentation on enhancing the renewable energy systems for electric vehicles. As a full-fledged engineer, Amelia was not only a brilliant designer, but also an inspiring leader. Seeing the admiration in her colleagues' eyes, she recalled her early internship days, filled with challenges, doubts from teammates, and the demanding mentorship of Victor. It was Elon Musk's trust and Ethan's encouragement that had fueled her determination to push through and prove her abilities. Both Amelia and Ethan understood that their success was not solely the result of talent or hard work, but also the timely kindness and support of those they encountered along the way. Musk had not only provided them with opportunities, but also instilled in them the belief that helping others was a powerful way to create lasting change. Reflecting on their accomplishments, the siblings realized that receiving help was only the beginning. It was their responsibility to pass it on. Ethan devoted time to mentoring new interns, while Amelia organized small workshops to assist young engineers at Tesla. For them, kindness was an unbroken chain, one that extended far beyond their own lives. The results they achieved stood as clear evidence that helping others was the right path to building a better future. Under the dim light filtering through the stained glass windows of the church, Ethan Carter stood before a group of young friends, those who had grown up with him in the same impoverished neighborhood. His face was calm, but his eyes shone with an unshakable conviction. "Do you remember?" Ethan began, his warm voice resonating in the stillness. "Back then, we'd sit on the street corner, talking about far-off dreams. Some of you wanted to be singers, others dreamed of becoming doctors. And me? I just wanted to do something big, something like exploring space." A few smiles appeared on the faces of the children, stirred by memories of those sweet, simpler times. Ethan continued, "But back then, dreams like that felt so out of reach, didn't they? My family had no money and life was full of struggles. Yet something miraculous happened, not from the stars, but from the kindness of those around me." He paused, his eyes meeting each of theirs. "I realized that when we have faith in life and keep trying, the world will send us opportunities. Sometimes all it takes is one act of kindness, like when I helped fix that electric car, to change everything." Leaning forward slightly, his voice grew deeper and more reflective. "The people who helped me, my sister, the engineers at SpaceX and Elon Musk, they didn't just give me opportunities. They taught me something even greater. That kindness and generosity are the most powerful forces in the world. It's because of that kindness that I've gone from this very street corner to places I once thought I'd never reach." Looking into the faces before him, Ethan smiled. "Now I want to share that with all of you. Believe in life, believe in yourselves, and don't hesitate to help others. Because when we lend a hand, we not only change someone else's life, we change our own." Applause filled the space. But what truly fulfilled Ethan was the sparkle in the eyes of his childhood friends. He knew that the spirit of kindness and belief in life would continue to fuel their strength as they faced the challenges ahead. Ethan stepped into the house, his shoes still dusted from the dirt road leading to the small neighborhood. The home was quieter than usual that evening, with only the glow from the living room lamp casting a warm ambiance. He set his backpack down on a chair, his eyes still alight from the special evening at the church. The conversation with his old friends had stirred something profound within him. Seeing their eager eyes and bright smiles as they listened to his journey, Ethan realized that what he shared wasn't just his personal story, it was a spark of hope for those who might have once thought dreams were out of reach. He walked into his bedroom, where everything remained just as it had been when he was a 17-year-old boy. Homemade spaceship models sat neatly on the shelf, and the small desk in the corner was where he had once repaired neighbors' cars and dreamed of the vastness of space. Sitting down on the wooden bed, Ethan let his thoughts drift through the moments that had shaped him. He remembered that fateful afternoon when he had helped Daniel fix the electric car. A small act, but one that had opened doors far beyond what he could have imagined. He thought of his early days at SpaceX, filled with struggles and mistakes, yet always guided by people like Sofia Rivera, whose patience and mentorship helped him rise above those challenges. And then there was Musk, the man who had seen potential in him, believed in him, and offered him an opportunity, even though he was just a boy from a poor neighborhood. Ethan leaned back on the bed, his eyes wide as they stared at the ceiling. He murmured to himself, "It all starts with kindness. A single small act can change a life, not just mine, but someone else's too." Through the window, the night sky sparkled with countless stars. It was a sight Ethan had always loved, not just because it symbolized his dream of exploring space, but because it reminded him that even in darkness, light could be kindled through faith, through help, and through an unyielding desire to reach for something greater. Ethan Carter's story has shown us the magical power of kindness and sharing, that even a small act can change an entire life. If you found this story inspiring, hit like to let us know you enjoy content like this. Don't forget to share to spread this meaningful message to more people. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss other inspiring stories, and leave a comment below with your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching.